Hey everyone, Happy New Year! Welcome to the first edition of NoDQ&AV video here in 2017. This is episode number 898, so almost at 900 episodes. Got your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift using the hashtag PAIV. So let's get started. First question of 2017 comes from Mr. Johnson. Could that last segment of Raw be any indication of what we may see at WrestleMania? Goldberg versus Reigns or Goldberg versus Kevin Owens? I doubt it. I think it was merely just a tease to get all those guys in the same segment. It was pretty cool to see Goldberg interact with Kevin Owens and also Roman Reigns. It was a nice change of pace from seeing Goldberg just interacting with Brock Lesnar. I still think in the end it will end up being Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, but who knows? I mean, that reaction, the crowd really reacted to the idea of Goldberg and Roman Reigns going at it. You had that brief stare down, and who knows? Vince might look at that and think that there's money involved in doing Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, perhaps more than doing another Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg match. Time will tell if Vince decides to change, but at this point, I'm still expecting WWE to go forward with Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Brock will probably eliminate Goldberg at the Royal Rumble, and that will set up the WrestleMania match. At least that's what I'm expecting at this time. The spear was really cool, the double spear to Braun Strowman, and I got that question regarding the ending of Raw from hashtag #MasterAtDeleting. Do you approve of the burial of Braun Strowman by a part-timer Goldberg and the man with the golden shovel Roman Reigns? Okay, this was not a burial, and this always happens. Anytime somebody's getting pushed and then they get beat up or whatever, people are saying that guy is being buried. I would not say that was the case at all here. It took two guys to take down Braun Strowman, one of them being Roman Reigns, who had just defeated Chris Jericho earlier to retain the US title, and he's being positioned as one of the top guys. And then you also had Goldberg, who is the guy that beat Brock Lesnar in 90 seconds. So you combine those two guys, they were able to take down Braun Strowman. I do not see a big problem with that. Yes, Strowman is being booked as a monster and he should be protected, but it wasn't like he just took a spear from Reigns. He took a spear from both guys. It was a double spear. I thought it was a really cool spot to end the show. I thought it was the right thing to do for people to remember the end of Raw. I think people will remember that, and it was a good way to start off 2017. So I would not say it buried Braun Strowman. I do not feel that was the case at all. Got this one here from Beast Slayer. Why the hell would WWE hold WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans when they already had 30 there? The money! I mean, the fact is, New Orleans was a good tourist destination for WWE, and if the city is willing to give WWE the best financial deal, then WWE is going to take it. I mean, my gut feeling is if New Orleans offered them a boatload of money every single year, more than anyone else, WWE would just keep doing WrestleMania in New Orleans. They're going to go where the money is. They're going to go where they can get the best financial deal. And WrestleMania 30 was a huge hit for a lot of people. I've had fans tell me that it was very convenient, the location, and they were able to go from their hotels to all the different venues with a lot of ease. And it's a great city for people. People go there, they party, they have a good time, and then they can attend all the WWE events. It just worked out very well in 2014, so it's really a no-brainer for WWE to do it again. Now, I personally would prefer if WrestleMania was on the West Coast. I mean, I doubt I'm going to travel to New Orleans for WrestleMania, so I'm getting that out there before everyone starts asking me. I'll just wait. I'll sit back and wait until WrestleMania comes to the West Coast. I'm assuming they're going to be in LA once the new football stadium is finished, and I'll go to that one. I'm not going to hold my breath hoping that WWE will do WrestleMania in Seattle again or the Pacific Northwest. That I'm not expecting, but LA, I'll be patient. I'll wait it out until they come back to LA. But as far as New Orleans, it's convenient for them. And of course, the whole idea that they're doing more of the shows in the South where the temperature is warmer. They can do more outdoor venues, and There are indoor venues they can run. In the Northeast, you know, the cold weather is a factor, and that's why they don't do WrestleMania up there as often. And it's also just the financial deal. I mean, running in New York is more expensive than running in New Orleans. That's another issue. Got this one here from Nikki Sturzu. Given the fact that Ronda Rousey lost her UFC fight, what do you see in her future? Do you think she would make it to WWE? I think it's inevitable she ends up in WWE. I think despite the loss, WWE will want to sign her, and I still think there's value. It does seem a lot of fans feel Ronda lost some value by losing that fight so decisively and so quickly. I mean, yes, Brock Lesnar did lose his last couple of fights in UFC before going back to WWE, but that last fight he was in wasn't quite as decisive. I mean, it was decisive, but this Ronda one was over, 47 seconds? It was very one-sided, and perhaps it did hurt Ronda Rousey's drawing ability a little bit. But she's still a tremendous fighter. She still had an amazing run in UFC, and she has the presence, and I think that given some time, she can come back and still have that name value and make a difference in WWE. I think Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte would definitely be a high-profile match that WWE could do and would still generate some mainstream publicity. Maybe not quite as much. Maybe it will not be the main event match at WrestleMania, but I could still see it being a huge deal if they go through with it. And remember, Mike Tyson made a huge difference for WWE, despite the fact that he had that fight with Holyfield with the ear, and you know he was coming off the whole time in jail for the rape. So Mike Tyson had a bad reputation, not just personally but professionally as well, and he came in and boosted WWE's business in a big way. So I mean, I think Ronda can still do it. I still think that her and WWE would be good business. And Deplorable Hamp asks, do you think Ronda Rousey decreased her WWE stock and made it less likely that they bring her in for a match? I don't think so. I still think they will bring her in, and I feel she will go to WWE at some point. I think that that's something she's very passionate about. She's always been a big wrestling fan, and I would be surprised if she doesn't end up in WWE soon. I mean, not really soon. I could see it being another year from now. Maybe she takes the year off just to reflect on things, but I think we'll see her in WWE at some point. Whether it's 6 months from now or a year from now, I do think it will happen. Got this one here from LaShawn. With John Cena versus The Undertaker in a career versus title match, where does AJ go from there? That is, if that match is confirmed, and at this point it's not 100% a sure thing. I think that AJ should be in a high-profile match. You know, I talked about recently the idea of maybe Finn Balor going up against AJ Styles at WrestleMania, and that would be the big Raw versus SmackDown match for WrestleMania, and they could even do a stipulation where the winning brand gets to draft somebody from the other show. You know, something to just make the match more interesting. Although Finn Balor and AJ Styles, I mean, you would not need much for that. I mean, just those two guys going at it, I think would be huge. And you could even somehow implement Anderson and Gallows into the storyline and maybe even have them torn between the two, and you know, something similar to like SummerSlam 92 where Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect were teasing which corner they would be in, whether it would be Randy Savage or the Ultimate Warrior. They could do something like that where Anderson and Gallows would tease which side they're going to go on, and one of those guys would be the new leader of the Bullet Club, whether it's AJ or Finn Balor. And did I just say Bullet Club? I meant the club, whatever. You know what I mean. So they could do something like that. I just hope WWE does have something big for AJ. I mean, coming off of this year in 2016, you know, he needs to be in a bigger match than what he did last year, which was, the second match on the show against Chris Jericho, which granted was a good match, but you would think that this year AJ would be in a much bigger match at the biggest pay-per-view of the year. And another question here from LaShawn. Do you think the ending segment of SmackDown Live this past week made AJ look like a babyface? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, anytime you have somebody winning the match clean and being portrayed as a great champion, I mean, that's going to make the guy come off like a babyface. But at the same time, I think you really need to do that with AJ and establish him as a credible champion, whether he's a babyface or a heel. He needs to be booked as a strong champion, and that's the biggest difference between AJ and Kevin Owens. Owens has just squeaked by win after win after win, and yes, he's a heel, but you need to make the champion credible, and I think with AJ, he has a ton of credibility at this point, and AJ and Cena, that's going to be a main event match at the Royal Rumble, because both guys have been built very strongly over time. I mean, in John Cena, he's been the face of the company, and AJ had arguably the best first year in WWE of anybody in company history. So I do not think the intention was to make AJ come off like a babyface, just to make him come off like a true, credible champion. And I got one here from Daniel Lynch. Hey Aaron, would it be better for PWG to be on TV, and would you like to see it happen? The business model they are using right now seems to be working for them. They do their shows in Reseda in front of 400 people. Yes, I think it would be better if they ran shows in bigger venues. I think it would be better if they tried to expand their audience. But at the same time, they have a very narrow audience. I mean, they cater to the most hardcore wrestling fans that want to see the pure wrestling, all the high spots, you know, the best athletes in the world. That's what the PWG audience wants to see, and PWG's making a lot of money doing the DVDs, and their format is working for them. If they expand, who knows if they'll be able to really grow their audience that much. I mean, I don't think PWG is something that really caters to a mainstream audience, and you look at Ring of Honor, they've been trying to expand, and they haven't really been able to reach that next level of mainstream success. They haven't even been able to get to TNA's level. So for PWG, I think it would be way too risky, and from their perspective, why ruin a good thing? They have something good going right now with what they're doing, so I think they're just going to keep doing that. I mean, there's no need for them to really take a risk they don't have to at this point. And I got another one here from Daniel Lynch. Hey Aaron, what's your opinion on Goldust? I think he's good and deserves better than being with R-Truth. Will you ask me about Goldust right now? I would say he's in a spot he should be in. There's no need for Goldust to be pushed beyond working with R-Truth. I mean, Goldust has been one of the greatest characters in WWE over the years, but let's face it, Goldust peaked as a character 20 years ago. And I think that his time has passed. He is now in a supporting role. He is there as a legend. The Goldust character is familiar with older fans, and I think he's just fine doing the thing he's doing right now. They did bring him back and got him involved in that storyline with Dusty Rhodes and the Authority, and that was good. That was a nice little comeback for Goldust. But beyond that, I don't see the need in pushing him stronger than where he's at right now. I think he fits in just fine doing the comedy stuff with R-Truth. Next one comes from Garrett Mills. What do you think of Jack Gallagher? Is he more of a gimmick character like Ellsworth, or can he win the Cruiserweight title? I think he's a lot more credible than James Ellsworth. I mean, Ellsworth's character is basically being portrayed as a joke. With Jack Gallagher, he is being booked like a strong technical wrestler, a guy who is very gifted in the ring, and he's got the gentleman character, so he has a little bit more of a character than some of the other guys in the Cruiserweight division, and I like the guy. I think he's entertaining. I think it's something different, and I could very well see him being Cruiserweight champion at some point. I mean, he's certainly standing out more than some of the other guys, but in a good way. I mean, he's definitely not like James Ellsworth. Ellsworth is basically just, you know, the modern day Barry Horowitz or the modern day Goldberg, you know, just a comedy figure. Yes, Gallagher's doing some of the comedy, but at the same time, he has some skills, and he's a guy who can kick your ass, and WWE has been portraying him that way. They haven't been portraying him as a guy who would stand no chance against anybody who's good. Got this one here from Ryan Is War. What was your favorite Mick Foley rivalry? Mine was Triple H in 2000 when I started watching, and what was better, Royal Rumble or No Way Out? I would say Mick Foley versus Undertaker, Mankind versus Undertaker was probably my favorite Mick Foley feud. You had so many classic matches. You had the Boiler Room Brawl with Paul Bearer turning on Undertaker. You had the match in April at the In Your House pay-per-view, Revenge of the Taker. They did that Fireball segment with Paul Bearer. Then, of course, you had the Hell in a Cell match, which is one of the most memorable matches in WWE history, with Mankind being thrown off the cell. I mean, Mankind and Undertaker had so many classic battles. They worked so well together. But Triple H and Mankind also had some very memorable matches against each other. Two of them, of course, being that Royal Rumble match and the No Way Out match, which was Mick Foley's so-called retirement match. I think I would give a slight edge to the Royal Rumble match just because the Hell in a Cell match had to follow the Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell match, and it wasn't quite as classic of a match, but still Mick Foley went through the cell and, you know, it was very physical. The Royal Rumble match was just unbelievable, so I think I would give the slight edge to that, but it's close between the two of them for sure. This one comes from Calvin. Hey Aaron, which WWE superstars do you think need new finishers? I think Seth Rollins and Bobby Roode. I would agree with you about both guys. Bobby Roode, I think, could use a little bit better of a finisher. And Seth Rollins, I feel the only reason he's doing the pedigree is because of the storyline with Triple H, and he's mentioned it, but he hasn't really emphasized it on television why he's doing the pedigree. So I'm hopeful that once the feud with Triple H is over with, Seth Rollins will get a new finisher. I just don't see the point in him using the pedigree other than to stick it to Triple H, which is apparently what he's doing in the storyline. They just haven't really made that very clear on television. I think Seth Rollins is a guy that could come up with something really creative. I hope at some point they'll bring back the curb stomp. I mean, that was such a cool finisher, but, you know, it is what it is. WWE feels perhaps it's too violent, but I like the move. I think it looks really cool. And if not the curb stomp, I hope he's able to come up with something else that's a cool move, something that's unique. He doesn't even do the pedigree that well, which is funny because he's so good in the ring. But, you know, Triple H made the pedigree his move. I mean, he mastered it, and when other people try to do it, it just doesn't look as good. And as great as Seth Rollins is, I mean, Triple H, he's the master of the pedigree. What can I say? That'll wrap it up for No DQ&A video, the first one of 2017. Thank you all for checking out today's video. Make sure you check out the Talk Wrestling videos that Jeff and I did back at the end of 2016, and then the first one of 2017. We did back-to-back Talk Wrestlings. Stay tuned this week for more No DQ&A videos, and I will see you next time.